Hello Hodgel, today we will be looking at how to input functions onto a calculator. Now your keywords for this lesson are calculator, square, square root, improper fraction and mixed fraction. So the first thing we're going to look at is how do we use the calculator to input a fraction. Now here is my fraction that I will be wanting to input, 7 as a numerator, 9 as a denominator. Now here is my calculator. Okay, now on a calculator you will see there are several functions. These are all the different types of functions that we have on a calculator. The one that we are interested in is the fraction function. Now that is this button right here. So if we click on this button here, it will bring us up a fraction, and it has a blank square at the top and a blank square at the bottom. So that means we will be able to input a number for our numerator and a number for our denominator. Now we would like 7 at the top, so now I will just simply press 7. And now I want to input 9 at the bottom, so I have to remember to press the down button, which then allows me to input the number 9. So there I go. I then will now press equals. And as you can see, it brings up 7 9s there. Now, if I want to now convert this into a decimal, I will be using this button here, which we normally refer to as the SD button. And this will convert it into a decimal for us. So if you press that button, up comes 0.7. And now the 7 has a little dot on the top. What that means is that the 7 is reoccurring, meaning that it goes on and on. So it will be 0.77777 and so on. So if I just want to write what 7 9ths represents, I am just going to write 0.7 and put a little dot on the top, rather than writing out all the 7s, which you wouldn't be able to because it will go on forever. So we just refer to it as 0.7 recurring. Okay, we'll just try another example just to check. If I wanted to input, say, the number 3 over, let's say, 7, then I would press the fraction button, 3 as my numerator, press the down button, 7 as my denominator, press equals, then press SD, and now as you can see I have a longer fraction, and it is reoccurring from the numbers 4 to 8, 5, 7, 1. Those numbers will reoccur again and again. So we just need to write that number down, so it'll be 0.4 with the dot on the top, 2, 8, 5, 7, 1, and the dot on the top again. Okay, moving on. There's a little task for you to have a go here. There are 4 fractions, and could you please give them as decimals? If your decimal is reoccurring, please give your answer using the recurring dot. Okay, so I will jot down the answers for this right now. 2/3 should have given you 0.6 recurring. 5/6 should have given you 0.8 with just the 3 recurring. 7/10 is just 0.7. And then 5/7 is 0.714285, and it is recurring from 7 all the way to 5. Okay, moving on. The next thing we are now going to be looking at is calculations involving fractions. By that I mean, what if we wanted to add 2 fractions, if we wanted to subtract, times and divide and so on. When we can still do that on the calculator. So say for instance I want to know what 1/5 add 2/3 equals. So I shall get my calculator. I now know how to input a fraction. So I'll press my fraction button. I want 1/5 first, so that'll be 1 as the numerator, down, 5 as the denominator. Now because I want to continue the calculation this time, I will be pressing the side button. This allows me to leave my fraction and move on. And now I want to do an addition, so I shall press the add button. And now I want to use another fraction, so I shall press the fraction button again. I want 2 as the numerator, 3 as the denominator, and now I would like to know the answer to that, and it comes as 13/15. So if I just write that here, Okay, and depending on the question, it might ask you to leave it as a fraction or you might want it as a decimal. If we just leave it as a fraction for now on. So we've got 13/15. We'll just try another calculation. Maybe this time we will try a subtraction. So if I want to know 7/10, take away 2/5, and I want to know what the answer is to that. Get my calculator again, clear it, and I will press fraction, 7/10, and then moving on, subtract another fraction, 2/5, and that gives me the answer of 3/10. Okay, now there'll be a few questions for you to have a go at, so please do. Could you calculate the answers to this? And please could you use the SD button to give your answers as decimals as well? Okay, the answers for this are as follows. So 1/2 add 2/3, that would give you, as a fraction it would have been 7/6, but it did ask for it as a decimal. So as a decimal it will be 1.16, recurring only on the 6. Okay, question 2, we've got 1/3 add 3/7. The answer to that as a fraction is 16/21, and as a decimal it is 0.76194, with the recurring from 7 all the way to 4. Okay, 2/9 add 2/5. That as a fraction is 28/45, and then using the SD button the decimal answer is 0.62 recurring. Finally, 1/4 add 1/3. That is 7/12 as a fraction, and using the SD button that is 0.583 recurring, only under 3. Okay, brilliant. So far we know how to input a fraction and we know how to do calculations involving fractions. Now the final thing we were looking at just for this lesson is converting between mixed numbers and improper fractions. So firstly, just a quick recap on what a mixed number is. A mixed number is a number involving a fraction involving a whole number, say for instance 3, and a fraction attached to it, so let's say 2/3. That's a mixed number, a number and a fraction. Now an improper fraction, one improper fraction is when the numerator is bigger than the denominator. Say for instance 13/7. That would be improper as the numerator 13 is bigger than the denominator 7. And we need to be able to convert mixed numbers into improper fractions. Now, for instance, if I want to input a mixed number onto the calculator, I will now have to use the button Shift. So if I click on Shift and now I click on the fraction button, it allows me to input a number and next to it a fraction. So for instance, say if I wanted to put in 3 2/3, I would yet again Shift and the fraction button. That will allow me to put on 3, and then moving on to press down thirds equal, and that gives me the answer 11/3. Okay, and if I want to know what it is as a decimal, it is 3.6 recurring. Okay, we'll also just try one more. So for instance, 1 7/10. I will press Shift, fraction button. That allows me to put 1 as the whole number, 7 as our numerator of our fraction, and 10 as our denominator. And that gives us as a fraction, an improper fraction, 17/10, and as a decimal, 1.7. Now, the task we would like you to do and upload onto ClassCharts is this one here. Could you just please convert these mixed numbers into improper fractions? There's no need to convert them into decimals, and please do take a picture and upload.